House will come to order. Those persons not having privilege of the floor will please vacate the chamber. Members and guests in the galleries will please rise as we are led in prayer today by the gentleman from the 75th District, Delegate Mallow.
Let us pray. Dear precious Heavenly Father, please grant us the wisdom to lead with integrity, the patience to listen to our constituents and our colleagues, and the courage to make the difficult decisions that serve the greater good. We ask all these things in your precious name. Amen.
Amen. Please remain standing as we are led in the Pledge of Allegiance today by the gentleman from the 76th District, Delegate Garcia.
Please help me what you do. Okay. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Members and guests may be seated. Reading of the Journal.
Journal of the House of Delegates, January 22nd, 2026.
Journal of the 8th, Delegate Bell.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that the further reading of the journal be dispensed with and that it be approved as having been read.
Gentlemen from the 8th, ask unanimous consent that further reading of the journal be dispensed with and that it be approved as having been read. Are there objections? No objections are heard. Introductions. Gentleman from the 43rd, Delegate Tony.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm pleased to announce that sponsored by the West Virginia Academy of Family Physicians in celebrating the 37th anniversary of the Dr. Day program, our family doctor today is Molly Cecil from Morgantown. Please give her a warm welcome.
Gentleman from the 8th, Delegate Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is my honor to introduce our patron for us today, Dalton Hayes. He's a senior at Magnolia High School, although I would be remiss if I didn't say he was my student for a number of years at Payton City High School. Go Wildcats. And in the North Gallery, his parents, Eric and Tiffany, with the house. Please make them feel welcome.
Gentleman from the 84th, Delegate Jennings.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today we have a former senator and his wife used to be a former delegate. He's the clerk of Preston County, Dave Seipold. If you'd all give him a round.
Gentleman from the 77th, Douglas Statler.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the North Gallery, I have my cousin down here today with us. He is now a professor at Fairmont State University. Caden Statler. Will the House please make him welcome?
Gentleman from the 14th, Douglas Fogan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a couple of introductions. Floating around here somewhere is Jaden Vargas. She goes to Parkersburg South High School. She's paging for us today. If you would give her a little clap. And in the West Gallery, two of my new friends, please stand up. Harrison Linkus, the Board of Governors student rep for Fairmont State University, and Sophie Stewart, the student government president. Nice to meet you guys. Thanks for talking to me.
Lady from the 19th, Delegate Kraus.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Up in the South Gallery, I have some friends up there, Moms for Liberty. If they would stand up and if the House would make them welcome, I would appreciate it.
Lady from the 56th, Delegate Young.
Speaker, good morning, everyone. I've got 3 pages with me this morning. They are running around already from Hurricane High School. We've got Lyndon Lewis, Jack Lewis, and Daniel Schwindeman, and they're joined by their friend and mother, Felicia, if everyone would make them feel welcome.
Gentleman from the 35th, Delegate Vance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's always a good day when we get to stand up and announce people from Walman County here. Today we have a page from Pineville Middle School. Her name's Kendi Blankenship. She is also escorted here by her parents, Landon and Brittany Blankenship. If the House would please make them feel welcome.
Gentleman from the 75th, Delegate Mallow.
Good morning, colleagues. Just so you know, today is Fairmont State Day in the Capitol. And if you look to the West Gallery, you'll see President Michael Davis, members of the Board of Governors, members of his cabinet, some faculty members, staff, and very important, the students. And if you look in the South Gallery, you'll see 4 young ladies from Fairmont State's Delta Zeta, Claire Thompson, Maggie Rohrig, Hayden Copland, and Savannah White. Would the House please make them feel welcome?
Gentleman from the 73rd, Douglas Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a great honor for me to be able to be here today and be with all you all. And it's an honor for me to also to announce our page with us, Mr. Bryce Eisner. He's a senior at Grafton High School, and when he graduates, he will be attending WVU and studying finance. So would you all please make him feel welcome?
Further introductions. Standing committee reports.
Your Committee on Government Organization has had under consideration House Bill 4006, creating the West Virginia Aerospace and Advanced Manufacturing Growth Act, and reports committee substitute back therefore with the recommendation that the committee substitute do pass, but first be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Report to be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Your Committee on Health and Human Resources has had under consideration House Bill 4021, Bring Them Home Fund, and House Bill 4390, relating to the temporary payment to a kinship parent of a subsidy equal to that of a foster parent. Reports committee substitutes back therefore with the recommendation that each do pass, but first be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Report to be received. Both bills will be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Your Committee on Health and Human Resources had under consideration House Bill 4393, requiring the development and implementation of a statewide prevention plan. Reports committee substitute back therefore with the recommendation that the committee substitute do pass.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on Health and Human Resources had under consideration House Bill 4626, relating to the establishment of a grant program to fund the United States Food and Drug Administration's drug development trials with ibogaine. Reports the same back with recommendation that the bill do pass.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on Energy and Public Works has had under consideration House Bill 4410, relating to special stops required for on-track equipment, and House Bill 4437 to allow Gold Star parents to receive one free Gold Star vehicle registration for personal use, and reports the same back with the recommendation that each do pass.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on Energy and Public Works has had under consideration House Concurrent Resolution 3, House Infrastructure Naming Resolution. Reports committee substitute back therefore with the recommendation that the committee substitute be adopted, but first be referred to your Committee on Rules.
Report will be received. The resolution will be referred to the Committee on Rules.
Your Committee on Health and Human Resources has had under consideration House Bill 4610, Safeguard the Right to Try Cutting Edge Medicine Act, and reports committee substitute back therefore with recommendation that the committee substitute do pass, but first be referred to your Committee on the Judiciary.
Report will be received. Gentleman first.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The two chairs having conferred unanimous consent that the second reference to your Committee on Judiciary be dispensed with.
Gentleman from the first asked unanimous consent that the second reference to the Committee on the Judiciary on House Bill 4610 be dispensed with. Are there objections? Are there objections? No objections are heard. The bill will be placed upon the counter. Further standing committee reports. If not, select committee reports, executive messages, Senate messages, resolutions, petitions, bills introduced.
House Bill 4764, disallow candidates for office if back taxes are owed.
Gentleman from the first.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent that the further reading of bills introduced be dispensed with, and each bill be considered as having been formally introduced and referred to the appropriate committees as indicated on the chamber automation system.
Gentleman from the first ask unanimous consent that the further reading of bills introduced be dispensed with, and that each bill be considered as having been formally introduced and referred to the appropriate committees as indicated on the chamber automation system. Are there objections? No objections are heard. Further reading of bills will be dispensed with. Motions. Unfinished business. Bills on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4007, relating to industrial access roads.
Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having it read? No objections are heard. Gentleman from the 72nd, Delegate Riley, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill would amend provisions of the West Virginia Code relating to the industrial access road. This piece of legislation increases the amount of money available from the State Road Fund to the Industrial Access Road from $3 million to $6 million annually. It increases the maximum amount of unmatched funds allocated to any one county in a fiscal year from $400,000 to $800,000, and increases the maximum amount of supplemental matched monies from the fund available from $150,000 to $300,000. It expands the type of industrial site to include an approved industrial development site as deemed by the West Virginia Business Ready Sites Development Program, and it requires the Division of Highways to approve, reject, or provide comments related to the location of the industrial access road within 90 days. That's the bill, Mr. Speaker, and I urge passage.
Question now before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? Gentleman from the 29th, Delegate Dillon, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill contains multiple provisions which deal with the highways and the roads. Normally, bills which pertain to highways will come through either the Energy and Public Works or the Subcommittee on Environment, Infrastructure, and Technology. We did not have an opportunity to take this bill under consideration, so I just would like for that fact to be understood by the members in the body here, and will not be voting for this. Thank you.
Are there other members who wish to be recognized to speak on the bill? Gentleman from the 11th, Dr. Fehrenbacher is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Will the Vice Chair yield?
Yes, sir.
You talked about an increase, and from when this bill was originally created till now, what time period has elapsed?
So the original program was created in around 1989 and then was modified again in 1995. The last modification was 1999, which took it from $300,000 per project to $400,000 per project. But since 1995, so I guess 30 years ago, the program requirements of what's required by industrial access road and the process, those haven't changed in 30 years.
And so in that intervening time period, since the last adjustment was made and the per grant amount, a lot of time has passed and the cost of road installation has probably increased. Would you agree?
Yes, so when we looked at this, because it's purely a financial adjustment, the consumer price index for construction in 1980 or 1999 to now essentially doubled. So the 400 was taken to 800 on a direct correlation from the consumer price index cost increase.
Okay. And under the current arrangement, are all of the funds consumed in a given fiscal year?
So I wouldn't be able to say that all the funds in every single year are consumed, but I can tell you over the past 5 years, it's been in excess of $3 million.
Thank you, Delegate. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to speak to the bill.
Gentleman is recognized.
Colleagues, I believe this is a very sound tool, if you will, and a fiscal appropriation for the development of industrial as well as other applicable business and economic development opportunities. Some of the things that we have endorsed in the past allow studies to be done for sites to be ready, but this type of investment helps us advance these facilities and sites for those necessary access roads. I fully support that and would encourage you to its passage. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Are there other members who wish to be recognized on the bill? Does the gentleman wish to close debate on the bill? If not, the question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will please prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will please close the machine and ascertain the result on that question. There are 90 ayes, 4 nays, and 5 members absent. A majority of the members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares that bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4007.
Are there title amendments? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
House Bill 4008, relating to Business Ready Sites Program.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having the bill read? No objections are heard. Gentleman, the 41st, Delegate Maynard, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill amends code to provide new language, increasing the cap on micro grants to the Certified Sites and Development Readiness Program. Sites that are a minimum of 5 acres in size may receive an amount up to $100,000 through the program, and sites that exceed 20 acres may receive up to $250,000 through the program. Additionally, it clarifies that those sites are eligible for participation in the West Virginia Business Ready Sites Program are also eligible for access to funds from the Certified Sites and Development Readiness Program. I urge passage.
The question again is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? Gentleman from the 29th, Delegate Dillon, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Before we come to a vote on this, I want to take everyone back 2, 3, 4 years. What's the math here? 2023, we passed the Coal-Fired Grid Stabilization Act of 2023. And in that bill, we gave a directive to the Department of Economic Development to identify coal-fired electrical generation sites. Now, oftentimes in this body, we tend to think that because we passed a bill, that's what happened, right? So I let a year go by, and then last year, 2 years into that bill having been passed, I asked for a list of these sites which have been identified by the Department of Economic Development for coal-fired generation. Their response at that time was, well, no utility has come to us and asked us about it. Folks, it wasn't what the bill said. The bill said, you shall identify these sites, okay? Now, earlier this year, I requested an update on that. I said, hey, Mr. Acting Executive Director, where are we with these coal-fired generation sites? Response was, we're working on that. We'll get back to you. Okay? And then after we took up consideration of this bill in Energy and Public Works, I wanted to get some more information on how these business-ready sites are identified, how they're managed, how they're the process of acquisition. I had many questions about the total number of sites and the funding, the types of businesses which have located on these industrial sites. And I have yet to receive back from the Department of Economic Development any specifics about this. They're looking into it. They are. I have that on good faith. But my questions were asked in a good faith effort to try to obtain information from as close to the source as possible and not rely on secondhand information, as knowledgeable as many of the members of this body happen to be. So for that reason, I'm going to be a no on this. Thank you.
Are there other members who wish to be recognized to speak on this bill? Does the gentleman from the 41st wish to close debate on the bill? If not, the question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will please prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will please close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, there are 84 ayes, 9 nays, and 6 members absent. A majority of the members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
House Bill 4008.
Are there title amendments? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Further bills on third reading.
House Bill 4081 to create the Higher Education Health and Aid Grant.
Question is, shall the bill pass? The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there objections to having this bill explained in lieu of having the bill read? No objections are heard. Gentleman from the 3rd, Douglas Willis, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill creates, as it says, the Higher Education Health and Aid Grant. The grant funding will be used for the food pantries and health supplies on our college campuses. The grant will be housed at the HEPC. Colleges who receive the grant funding are required to report back to the HEPC, and within 1 year of the creation of this grant, the HEPC is required to report to LOCIA on the progress. That is a summary of the bill, Mr. Speaker, and I urge passage.
Question now is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? Is there debate on the bill? The gentleman from the 97th, Douglas Anders, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the gentleman from the 3rd yield for some questions?
Sure.
Okay, thanks. I've been reading through the bill and the fiscal note, but trying to find the details of the funding. How's this program exactly funded?
Sure, yeah. With talking to, so I ran this bill last year as well, a little backstory on it. With talking with the HEPC, the understanding is they will be searching for grant funding, whether that's public or private through federal dollars or private institutions or grant funds that do things like this. That is the intent of it. It does not take state tax dollars. It doesn't create a special revenue account. It doesn't do any of that.
Okay, so does anything in the bill restrict funding just to private sources so that it can't come from taxpayer dollars?
No.
No. Okay, so it is possible that our constituents could end up paying for this program.
That would be a decision of a future legislature.
Okay, thank you. Permission to speak to the bill?
Yes, gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, colleagues. I understand the intent of the bill. However, families across the state are struggling just to pay their electric bills. They're watching grocery prices climb every week, and they're being crushed by the inflation tax caused by government spending. House Bill 4081 creates a brand new state program, the so-called Higher Education, Health, and Aid Grant. It authorizes public colleges and universities to distribute food, groceries, hygiene products, and yes, even disposable plates and utensils that the taxpayers could possibly end up paying. Let me be clear. Compassion is not the issue. The issue is whether it's the constitutional role of the state to create yet another possible government welfare program, especially one with no clear limits and no clear funding. And that brings me to the most troubling parts of the bill, and that there was no fiscal note, there's no cost estimate, there's no identified specific funding source besides it authorizes obtaining these grants. We were told this will be handled through grants, but the bill does not specify which grants they come from, how long they last, or what happens when those funds run out. And when they disappear, the obligation we are creating today does not disappear with them. This bill does not directly appropriate a single dollar today, but that does not mean it is free. What it does create is a mechanism, the framework for future appropriations. It authorizes a program first and possibly sends the bill to the taxpayers later. This is how government grows. This is how these programs become permanent spending. This is how budgets get bloated. We should know what a program costs possibly before we create it. We should be able to tell the public exactly how it will be funded before we vote on it. And we should be not expanding the scope of government into every corner of daily life while West Virginians are struggling just to make ends meet. If college students need assistance, communities, families, churches, and private organizations are far better equipped to help without creating new government programs and new taxpayer obligations. No fiscal note, or the fiscal note, does not mean that it will not cost the taxpayers in the end. It means a possible unknown cost, and the taxpayer is always the backstop. And I strongly urge my colleagues to vote no on House Bill 4081. Thank you.
Lady from the 56th, Young is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the lead sponsor yield for a quick question?
Yes.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure, this is about creating a grant program to help kids and young adults who are in college access food or hygiene products or medical equipment if they need it. Is that right?
Yes, and this opens it up for the HEPC to potentially receive grants for multi-college potential as well, instead of just one institution directly, through whatever source it may be, through private funding, grants, whatever, public, private, whichever it may be.
And it's meant to help students that are in need. Is that right?
Correct.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I find it sick that some people in this room need a piece of paper to get up and talk about not wanting to help kids that need food or Band-Aids to be able to go to college. What are we doing? If we want people to succeed, sometimes they might need help. If you don't know, college kids can't apply for SNAP. Unless they're working 20 hours a week, they can't get it. They have to get a meal plan, it's expensive. If some kids need some food to be able to get through the day and graduate college, I think that's a fine way to use taxpayer dollars, and it helps hardworking West Virginians that need to make ends meet. So I urge you to support this bill.
Gentleman from the 67th, Coop Gonzalez, recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the gentleman from the third yield?
Sure.
So I was looking at the bill, and I'm wondering, if there's no funding attached to it, then what's the point of passing the bill? Like, why can't the HEPC already do this? Why do they need our authorization?
That would be a policy decision. This has been brought to me by the HEPC Student Council, I believe. the Student Advisory Council for the HEPC requesting this. So my assumption would be if they were already able to do this, they wouldn't have brought the legislation to me.
Okay. Is it your intent with this bill to eventually get state funding to go into this program?
No, that is not my intent, and that would, again, as I told the gentleman from the 97th, be the opinion of a future legislature. My intent is to do this so that if there are these bigger grants, be it a federal grant or from a private source, that they can, HEPC can go get it for like a more than one institution potential. I think a good example that he gave is some of these church groups and community groups would be the better sources. Well, I know some of those groups have the ability to do bigger grants as well. So this just gives them some more freedom to do that on a multi-university level.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, want to speak to the bill?
Yes, gentleman is recognized.
This is kind of an interesting one because on one hand, obviously people, they don't want to look like they're not sympathetic to college students who are struggling. Listen, I just graduated college last year. I went through the whole process. I did online, I did in person, I filled out the FAFSA, I did meal plans. I've been there, I've done that. That's very recent in my mind. What else is very pressing in my mind is the fact that going to college is a privilege. That is a privilege that most Americans never get to do, especially in West Virginia. We have the lowest participation in the country, at least one of the lowest. And we've also made it very easy to go to college. If you need to work to sustain yourself, you can take it over 5 years or 6 years. You can go to community college. You can make it work. I understand that we do need to have some assistance programs, but those are for kids that are in need. Those are for people with disabilities. They're not for able-bodied adults. They can make decisions for themselves. And my fear is that this is going to be another program where they're going to come back and say, hey, we didn't have enough success finding grants on our own. Can we have a line item? And for that reason, I'm a no.
Gentleman from the 75th, Douglas Mallow, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Speak to the bill.
Gentleman is recognized.
We're fortunate to have Fairmont State in the House today, and Fairmont State took the initiative years ago to set up a similar program for students that are away from home hours, maybe a day or so, or more so. This is a convenient situation for folks in need. I think that from time to time, we may question these sort of programs, but if it's working very well, and we put something in place that should it come down at a later date, we're ready for this. But at Fairmont State, it's working very well. The kids really love it, and some of the ones that took advantage of it came back later and donated to it. So I think it's a great idea for those. I was away from college for a while. I know what it's like. And some of these guys and gals are struggling just to be in college. So sometimes on the weekend, sometimes over a holiday, you can't go home. You may need a little help. I support the effort, and I urge passage.
Gentleman from the 29th, Douglas Dillon, is recognized.
Will the gentleman yield?
Sure.
I can appreciate this bill on many levels. I've been one of those cash-strapped college students, in the past. But I've been back and forth through the bill, and question keeps coming up in my mind. Is there anything in this bill that would keep a student from, let's say, China, from being able to receive these benefits?
The limited understanding of federal immigration law that I have, that if a student is legally here on a West Virginia campus, I don't see how we could exactly do ID checks and immigration checks at the door.
Okay, so you would agree then there's really no way to restrict this to U.S. citizens or West Virginia citizens, is that correct?
I know our Congressman Moore's been doing pretty good work on that subject in Washington to keep Chinese students out of the state, but I can't really dictate from Charleston which students will get it. That would be a little heavy-handed from the government, in my opinion.
Well, here's my hand. It's kind of heavy, and if I have permission to speak to the bill?
Is the gentleman finished questioning?
No further questions, thank you.
Then yes, gentleman's
Speak to
recognized.
the bill. Here's my hand, it's kind of heavy. I'm going to set it down right here. I'm going to say no, let's not pass this bill. Thank you.
Gentleman from the 57th, Douglas Lewis, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the sponsor yield for a question?
Sure.
I also have limited immigration law experience. But from your understanding, if a student is here participating in class, enrolled in class, and they happen to be from South Africa, would they be here illegally or illegally?
My assumption would be legally, and I do believe that we might disagree on this part, but President Trump has been doing pretty good at getting the illegal ones out, so I would assume
Okay.
definitely legal at this
But
point.
what we're saying is that if a student is here, he or she is taking class and generally participating in campus, generally, and they have all their paperwork, they're here legally on campus, right?
Did you say legally? Here legally?
Legally,
Yes.
yeah. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
No other question.
Gentleman from the 80th, Eggett Williams, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We've heard a lot of arguments that I really didn't anticipate hearing on this bill, and I'll go through some of those. But one that I guess I thought I might hear, and that we hear a lot, people talk about, is the old bootstrap argument. He pulled himself up by his bootstraps. What if you don't have any boots? And that's the case with a lot of our kids who have worked their tails off to become first-generation college students. And this is about supporting them in that dream, in that trial to better themselves so that they can join the workforce in West Virginia, the workforce that we say we want to develop, to work the jobs that we say we want to bring here. And we can't give them some Wonder Bread and a stick of deodorant? It's crazy. We have unfunded programs all the time. This isn't an appropriation. This is setting up a fund that can pay for these things. We had the In God We Trust bill last year, unfunded. And when it comes to students from other countries coming, if our universities, if our places of higher education say, we like this person, we think they have something to offer to our university, ergo our state, who are we to deny an 18-year-old that's taken the chance of a lifetime to cross an ocean to come to a school in West by God, Virginia? Who are we to deny them the opportunity to stay in school, to stay in this state? I thought this would be simple. I thought maybe there'd be one or two. I'm surprised by this debate. Let's exercise what we tell our constituents when we say that we want to work on cost of living. We want to work on making it easier to pursue the American dream. Let's vote for this so that we can help kids. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Lady from the 31st, Doug Mazzocchi, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. College students are adults. We want to prepare them, these young ladies and gentlemen, to learn that everyone has to work for their necessities. That means they have to learn that government is not here and give handouts constantly. We have too many funded or unfunded programs. We are not a nanny state. We need to blow this down. Thanks.
Do we have other members who wish to be recognized on this bill? Does the gentleman from the 3rd wish to close debate on the bill? Gentleman from the 3rd, Doug Wilson, recognized to close debate on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll be brief. Colleagues, I appreciate the debate on the bill, whether you're on my side of it or not. I came to this legislature in a very similar situation as my good friend from the 67th, straight off of a college campus. I had a lot of friends who were there who, some were from overseas, some came from wealthy backgrounds, some were lucky like me and did have a little bit of family support to help them in college. But some of them weren't even college age. They were in their 30s, they were in their 40s, they were coming back, trying to make it. Some of them were 18 to 22, trying to make it, doing full 12, 15, 18, 21 credit hour semesters, working 40-hour weeks to support their kids, going back to school to make more money so they could properly support their family. They needed a little help. When the HEPC Student Advisory Council came to me with this bill, I saw it as an opportunity to give them a little bit of help, not with state dollars, with potential grant funding, private, public, the opinions of a future legislature, maybe with state dollars, I don't know. All I'm trying to do here is give kids a leg up, to help them. We've done a lot of things in my last 3 years here, and hopefully into the future more things to help higher education. If we can do something simple like this to help them be able to stay in college, I'm all for it. I urge passage. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Gentlemen, the third is closed debate on the bill. The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will please prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will please close the machine and ascertain the result on that question. There were 71 ayes, 22 nays, and 6 members absent. A majority of the members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
House Bill 4081.
The title amendments, if not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. For the bills on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4335 relating to Medicaid providers.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there objections to having the bill explained, to having the bill read? No objections are heard, and the gentleman from the 23rd, Doug Worrell, is recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The committee substitute for House Bill 4335 establishes uniform, expedited, and fully electronic standards for Medicaid provider enrollment and credentialing in West Virginia. The bill sets enforceable timelines for state enrollment and managed care organization credentialing, mandates use of a single standardized credentialing application, directs implementation of a unified statewide electronic platform, and repeals outdated credentialing statutes to improve provider participation and timely access to care without reducing oversight. That's a summary of the bill, Mr. Speaker. I urge passage.
Question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? If not, those in favor of passage of the bill will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will please close the machine and ascertain the result. On that question, we have 93 ayes, 0 nays, and 6 members absent. Majority of the members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4335.
Are there title amendments? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. For the bills on third reading.
House Bill 4352, prohibiting cameras and recording devices in bedrooms and bathrooms of foster children.
Are there objections to having the bill explained, to having the bill read? No objections are heard. Gentleman from the 64th, Douglas Burkhammer, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 4352 is a bill that amends West Virginia Code to prohibit cameras and recording devices in bedrooms and bathrooms of foster home, and explicitly lays out some exemptions. I urge passage.
Question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? Is there debate on the bill? If not, those in favor of passage of the bill will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will please close the machine and ascertain the result. On that question, we had 93 ayes, 0 nays, and 6 members absent. A majority of the members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
House Bill 4352.
Are there title amendments? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Are there further bills on third reading? If not, bills on second reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4002.
Are there amendments?
Delegates Pittman, Fehrenbacher, and Riley moved to amend the committee substitute. This is HFA Dittman, Fehrenbacher, and Riley 1-23, number 1.
Are there objections to having the amendment explained, to having the amendment read? If not, lady from the 63rd, Douglas Dittman, to explain the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If you're following along on your automated chamber, go to line 45. After the words funds, we're adding the word for equipment. And then on line 46, we are changing Marshall University to property owned and operated by a state institution of higher education necessary to carry out research. So the complete striking of subsection 4 in its entirety, and it will read like this. The collaboratory may allocate funds for equipment or capital improvements at any property owned or operated by a state education of higher education necessary to carry out research and develop projects in which the collaboratory has funded completely or in part. That is the amendment, and I urge passage.
The question is on adoption of the amendment just explained by the sponsor. Is there a debate on the amendment? If not, those in favor of adoption of the amendment as read by or explained by the sponsor will please say aye. Those opposed will please say no. The ayes have it. Chair declares the amendment adopted. Are there other amendments to the bill? If not, the bill will be advanced to third reading. Next bill on second reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4005, Skills to Work.
Are there amendments?
Delegate Browning moves to amend the committee substitute. This is HFA Browning 1-22, number 2.
Are there objections to having this amendment explained in lieu of having the amendment read? If not, the gentleman from the 28th, Delegate Browning, is recognized to explain the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This amendment simply corrects the committee substitute to unstrike existing code language for one category of an age-limited occupation and add the proviso to clarify that this category is subject to restrictions in addition to those categories covered by the U.S. Department of Labor hazardous occupation orders. The remaining 16 categories of age-restricted occupations remain incorporated by reference in Section 2162A of the committee substitute. I urge adoption.
Question now is on the amendment just explained by the sponsor. Is there debate on the amendment? Gentleman from the 25th, Delegate Hornbuckle, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the gentleman yield? Yes, sir. So does this amendment restore the prohibition on 16 and 17-year-olds working in heated metal environments?
Yes, sir.
So it restores it for 16 and 17-year-olds, even though I believe it says...
That's correct.
Okay.
Under 15 is already categorized in federal code.
And so it does restore that, correct?
Yes, it restores the restrictions so they cannot work in those categories.
All right.
Or
Thank
this
you.
category.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
No problem.
Question again is on the amendment as explained by the sponsor, the gentleman from the 28th, Delegate Browning. Is there a debate on the amendment? If not, those in favor of adoption of the amendment will please say aye. Those opposed will please say no. The ayes have it, and the chair declares that amendment adopted. Are there other amendments to the bill?
Delegate Dean moves to amend the committee substitute. This is HFA Dean 1-22, number 2.
Are there objections to having this amendment explained in lieu of having it read in full? If not, the gentleman from the 34th, Delegate Dean, is recognized to explain the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This amendment is simple code cleanup. After the committee passed the committee substitute, the executive notified us that there were 4 separate code provisions that were at odds with existing code language in Section 21.6.2. These 4 other code sections allow limited exceptions for retail sales by employees between 16 years and 20 years old when directly supervised by a person at least 21 years old. This was not language amended in either the original bill or the committee substitute. This language has been in code since 2002 and earlier variants of it since 1939. Accordingly, to eliminate ambiguity between the existing code in 21.6.2 with 60.3A25, 60.712, 60.820, 11.16.18. Your Government Organization Committee prepared this amendment to correct these code conflicts. I urge adoption.
The question now is on the adoption of the amendment just explained by the sponsor, the gentleman from the 34th. Is there debate on the amendment? If not, those in favor of adoption of the amendment will please say aye. Those opposed will please say no. The ayes have it, and the chair declares that amendment adopted. Are there other amendments to the bill? If not, the bill will be advanced to third reading. Further bills on second reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4022, CPS allocation.
Are there amendments? If not, the bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4196 to offer long-acting reversible contraception to patients receiving methadone and Suboxone at the treatment facility for the methadone and Suboxone.
Are there amendments?
Delegate Lewis moves to amend the committee substitute. This is HFA Lewis 1-22, number 1.
Are there objections to having this amendment explained in lieu of having the amendment read? No objections are heard, and the gentleman from the 57th, Delegate Lewis, is recognized to explain the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Basically what this does, it just creates a writing requirement. So the thought behind this is that when you have individuals who may be coming, to get services as far as in the MAT program, they could be in a variety of states of mind. So basically what I would want to do is just make sure that when they're offered the contraceptive, it just be some writing acknowledgement. Because what we don't want to have is a situation in which somebody will feel like they were coerced, maybe because the tonality of somebody, how one of their employees said something, or maybe a misinterpretation. So I just think it's a cover. It doesn't change the substance of the bill. So I urge passage.
The question now is on the adoption of the amendment just explained by the sponsor. Chair recognizes the lady from the 20th, Delegate Drennan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in opposition to this amendment because, quite truthfully, it weakens the bill. The purpose of this legislation is to provide meaningful education and a warm handoff to the appropriate health care provider if the patient so chooses. Unfortunately, if this amendment is adopted, the intent will be lost and will become nothing more than another box to check or a form to sign. As my friend from the 57th District mentioned, making sure that people come in the right state of mind. There's no healthcare provider that would even offer treatment if you're not in the right state of mind, which leads me to the next point, that if you're not in the right state of mind, would your signature even be valid? So I urge a no vote. Thank you.
Question still is on the adoption of the amendment as explained by the sponsor. Is there debate on the amendment? Is there debate on the amendment? If not, shall recognize the sponsor, gentleman from the 57th, to close debate on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I appreciate that. I don't think it changes the bill. And again, we're talking about a MAT program. So this is individuals who have substance use disorder. So they may not be in the right state of mind when they come into a Suboxone or methadone clinic. So I think this is a way in which we can protect our MAT program so they, frankly, not sued for giving contraceptives to somebody who didn't want it. So again, like I said, it doesn't change anything, just provide an extra level of protection. So I urge passage. Thank you.
Debate on the amendment has been closed. The question now is, shall the amendment as explained by the sponsor be adopted? Those in favor of adoption of the amendment will please say aye. Aye. Those opposed will please say no. No. Noes appear to have it. Okay, noes have it. Chair declares that amendment lost. Are there further amendments to the bill?
Delegate Lewis moves to amend the committee substitute. This is HFA Lewis 1-22, number 2.
Question now is, shall the amendment be adopted? Are there objections to allowing the amendment to be explained in lieu of having it read? No objections are heard. Gentleman from the 57th, Delegate Lewis, is recognized to explain the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What this amendment does is just ensures, it's just more of a technical cleanup. It just ensures that that a trained, licensed practitioner is the one who administers the contraception. Like I said, it's just a technical cleanup.
The question now is, shall the amendment as explained by the sponsor be adopted? Is there debate on the amendment? Lady from the 20th, Delegate Drennan, is recognized.
Thank you again, Mr. Speaker. I again rise in opposition because it's unnecessary. The issue's already been addressed in the bill, making it redundant. No healthcare provider would deliver care without the appropriate education or training. Again, I urge a no vote. Thank you.
Again, the question is, shall the amendment as explained by the sponsor be adopted? Is there debate on the amendment? Is there debate on the amendment? If not, shall recognize the sponsor, gentleman from the 57th, to close debate on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, we're just advocating for that licensed medical practitioner be trained in doing this. Again, as the bill is written, it just seems like anybody on the staff can issue the contraceptive. So all we're saying is that whoever's issuing the contraceptive is trained. So that's it. Thank you.
Debate on the amendment has been closed. The question is, shall the amendment as explained by the sponsor be adopted? Those in favor of adoption of the amendment will please say aye. Aye. Those opposed will please say no. No. And those appear to have it. Okay, the noes have it. Chair declares the amendment lost. Are there further amendments to the bill?
Delegate Pushkin moves to amend the committee substitute on page 12, section 5, line 197, following the period by inserting a new subsection to read as follows. Each medication-assisted treatment program shall offer each patient a test for communicable bloodborne diseases at intake. This is HFA Pushkin 1-23.
Question now is on the adoption of the amendment just read by the clerk. Chair recognizes the sponsor. Gentleman from the 54th, Delegate Pushkin, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I'd start by saying I support this bill 100%, and I applaud the lead sponsor for reintroducing this bill. I think it's necessary, and I was surprised that it didn't make it the distance last year. It definitely should have, and hopefully it does this year. And I also want to thank my friend from Kanawha for, in my opinion, trying to improve the bill and correcting some of the issues that we might run into when in the actual practical application of how this is actually going to work. Well, what this amendment does, it just simply states and corrects something that should have been happening in these clinics for quite some time, and I was surprised to find out that it's not happening. And that's that upon intake, that the clients would be tested just one time, tested for communicable bloodborne diseases such as HIV and hepatitis C. I think while this section of code is before us, I think it's an improvement that we should make so we can also, while we're addressing one issue that we have, unfortunately, with this population, to address another one, and that is to at least identify and slow down the spread of diseases like hepatitis C and HIV. So I reserve the right to close.
Lady from the 20th, Drennan is recognized.
I question the germaneness of the bill, please.
Does the lady mean the amendment?
Amendment, yes.
The chair did look closely at the bill and at the amendment. While it is the section of code, gentleman is right, we do have the same section of code open before us. It is, however, a fairly narrow bill on contraception. So the chair is going to rule that the amendment does exceed the scope of the bill. Are there other amendments? If not, the bill will be advanced to third reading. Are there other bills on second reading?
Committee substitute for House Bill 4354 relating to the necessity allowance.
Are there amendments? If not, the bill will be advanced. Are there other bills on second reading?
Committee substitute for House Bill 4433 prohibiting human smuggling and trafficking.
Are there amendments?
Delegate Young moves to amend the committee substitute for House Bill 4433 on page 3, section 1, line 52, following the words harboring an illegal alien by inserting the following for financial or material benefit.
The question is on the adoption of the amendment just read by the clerk. Chair recognizes the sponsor, lady from the 56, to open debate on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This amendment just clarifies the definition of human smuggling. I think it makes it stronger, and like the clerk said, it just adds in that it creates a motive of financial or material benefit for the crime of human smuggling. Hope you'll support it.
Question still is on the amendment as read by the clerk. Gentleman from the 55th, Douglas Akers, recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the gentlelady rise for a few questions?
Sure.
So I want to make clear, if we look at the existing definition of human smuggling, it says, let's stick with just transporting. There's some other provisions there, but transporting an illegal alien, which is a legal term, to avoid enforcement of the laws of this state, another state, or the United States. So would your amendment require the person who's transporting, for example, to both know that the person is an illegal alien, to do this for material benefit or gain, and to avoid law enforcement? Would it require both the seeking of financial gain or material gain and the avoiding of law enforcement? Both of those things, it looks like to me, would now be required if we adopt this amendment.
So the knowingly is, I'm not touching the knowingly, that's staying in there.
I understand. Yes, ma'am.
And I'm not touching the to avoid enforcement. So it's just adding the for financial material benefit.
So you don't think that for financial or material benefit, then you have a comma, then it says to avoid law enforcement. You don't think that that at least creates some confusion, that you may need to both be seeking financial or material benefit and attempt to avoid law enforcement, that both of those things will now be required if your amendment's adopted?
That's right.
Okay, you think that it's clear, do both have to occur or just one or the other? I can't tell.
Yeah, both have to occur.
Okay.
It's not to get rid of anything in the bill presently, it's just to add that.
Okay, so I'm just making sure I understand the
Yeah.
amendment. So if you have someone who volunteers to help someone who they know has a legal status in the country avoid law enforcement, under your amendment, they would not have criminal liability for smuggling.
Like a church group, yeah, that's right.
So if you just volunteer to avoid law enforcement, then you would be free and clear on this bill.
If it was like, yeah, like if it was like a neighbor carpooling and they were going to work, then the point of the amendment is to create intent of a benefit for the person committing the crime.
Well, you just said someone who is helping someone go to work for a carpool. If that's the intent of the transportation, that person has no criminal liability under the current provisions of this bill, though. Do you understand that?
How so?
Because you have to do it with the intent to avoid enforcement of the laws. So if you're giving someone just a ride to work, you're not avoiding enforcement of the laws, you're just giving the person a ride to work. So the illegal transportation has to also include avoiding the enforcement of laws in order to create criminal liability.
I mean, I would disagree with that, because what if the person thought that ICE was going to come to their house, and if you were taking them to work, you would potentially be taking them away from enforcement of that?
It's not the intent of the person with the illegal status, it's the intent of the person providing the transportation. So
Yeah.
if you just go there to give them a ride to work, you're not intending to avoid law enforcement, which means you have no criminal liability under the law, the way this is clearly written.
I don't
but-
agree with that.
Well, you can disagree, but that's the way it's written. Let me ask you a second question, though. Are you familiar with the FEMA-administered programs, emergency food and shelter programs, or the shelter and services programs?
Did you say FEMA?
FEMA-administered programs.
I mean, I can glean what they mean, but I'm not terribly familiar.
You probably have heard of Catholic Charities.
Yeah.
Okay. May I speak to the amendment, Mr. Speaker?
Is the gentleman finished with the questions of the sponsor?
I am, yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, gentleman is recognized to speak to the amendment.
I appreciate the candid discussion just now. This bill does two things that I think are extremely problematic. Number one is it actually expands criminal liability. If we include this provision that says that you have criminal culpability if you transport someone for financial or material benefit, that can include someone who's providing those services in furtherance of the Emergency Shelter and Food Program or Emergency Food and Shelter Program, which is administered by FEMA, the Shelter and Services Program, which is administered by FEMA. This program provides services for 100,000 plus immigrants per year, people who are legally currently in the country awaiting their court proceedings to finish. They may have been illegal immigrants to begin with, but there are so many people involved in that program. The transportation services may sometimes have people who are undocumented and here in the country currently illegally. So if you are someone who receives grant services, a church, for example, who is transporting immigrants who may have illegal status, you could then be criminally liable and culpable if we adopt this amendment. To be clear, this bill passed last year 96-1. It is the same bill we had before us with a few very small changes, but one of the things we made clear last year and we're making clear this year is if you're a volunteer organization and all you're doing under the provisions of this bill is providing transportation, taking someone to work, taking them to the doctor, taking them to school, you do not have, I want to be clear on this for folks listening, you do not have criminal liability under this bill if your purpose is simply to provide transportation, services to someone, do a favor for somebody. You only have liability for the smuggling provisions of this bill if the transportation you're providing is to avoid enforcement of the laws, which is consistent with federal law. And as a matter of fact, the definition of smuggling in this code provision that we would adopt here if this bill passes is actually more lenient than federal law under the transportation provisions of federal law, which currently applies in this state. You are illegally transporting an alien in this country if you know or in a reckless disregard of their alien status, which is a stricter standard than this bill provides for, if you transport or attempt to transport the alien in furtherance of a violation of the law. So that is currently federal law. That's currently against the law to do that. This bill does not create a stricter law. It's actually a more lenient provision than federal law allows for. So again, this amendment would do two things. It would create exposure for volunteer groups, which doesn't currently exist. It would also allow someone to simply, I'm doing air quotes here, volunteer to avoid law enforcement as long as they don't get paid for it, and they could help someone break the law and have no criminal liability. We don't want church groups or nonprofits to have criminal liability if they're just providing simple services. We also don't want to incentivize people to break the law as a quote-unquote volunteer. I urge rejection.
Question still is on the amendment as read by the clerk. Is there debate on the amendment? Gentleman from the 54th, Douglas Pushkin, is recognized on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'm just taking in the explanation that was just given to us by the Judiciary Chair, and I have to disagree with one part of that. If the amendment is adopted, there's still federal laws on the books, and there's still state laws on the books when it comes to obstruction or aiding and abetting. Those laws are still on the book. It just simply wouldn't have the enhancement unless somebody was doing it for profit. Somebody was trafficking somebody or smuggling a human being for profit. So I urge support of my friend's amendment.
Are there other members who wish to be recognized to speak on the amendment? If not, Chair will recognize the sponsor, lady from the 56th, to close debate on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to everyone for the discussion. I'm a bit confused about how this amendment would incentivize anyone to behave in this way or to commit any more crimes. I also don't think that this harms nonprofits or harms neighbors that are trying to hurt people. I think we all want to go after people that are breaking the law. I want to make sure we're targeting people that are profiting off of exploiting other people. And so this amendment clarifies that there would be a financial motive for people who are doing this for a capital gain. Human trafficking is for a gain of someone else. Human smuggling, which is in this same section of code, there's no motive as to why these people are doing this. So all this amendment does is clarify that smuggling is when you are doing something for value. It doesn't touch churches, it doesn't touch nonprofits. I want to make sure that they are clear. So I hope you will support my amendment.
Debate on the amendment has been closed. The question before the House is, shall the amendment as read by the clerk be adopted? Those in favor of adoption of the amendment will please say aye. Those opposed will please say no. No. Noes appear to have it. Okay, noes have it. Chair declares the amendment lost. Are there other amendments to the bill?
Delegates Kimball and Akers move to amend the committee substitute on page 8, section 7, line 3 by striking subsection B in its entirety and renumbering the section accordingly.
The question now is, shall the amendment as just read by the clerk be adopted? Is there debate on the amendment? Lady from the 71st Delegate Kimball is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, everyone. This amendment strikes section 6114(7) subsection B, as you heard, and it does that for clarification. I think we just heard exactly why it's needed. Somewhat during and following the committee process, it has become evident that subsection B is unnecessary and causes confusion about the original definition already in the previous parts of the bill. That is my explanation of the amendment, and I hope that you will support it. Thank you.
Are there other members who wish to be recognized to speak on the amendment as read by the clerk? If not, the question is, shall the amendment be adopted? Those in favor of adoption of the amendment as read by the clerk will please say aye. Aye. Those opposed will please say no. The ayes have it. Chair declares the amendment adopted. Are there other amendments to the bill?
Delegates Akers and Kimball move to amend the committee substitute on page 9, section 7, line 29 by striking the phrase, provided that if the victim of the offense is an adult illegal alien, then the allowable restitution may only include reasonably related medical expenses and or transportation expenses to return to the adult illegal alien to his or her place of origin.
The question is on the adoption of the amendment just read by the clerk. Is there debate on the amendment? Gentleman from the 55th Delegate Akers is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll speak to the amendment. Again, just a real brief discussion of this bill's history. This original provision that we're talking about right now that I'm moving to strike was in the version of the bill that passed last year, again, 96-1. There was one very small change. It was actually at the suggestion of the gentleman from the 5th in committee. We did change one word to this amendment. He had, I thought, which was a good suggestion to make this a more fair provision of the bill. But otherwise, this was in last year's bill that passed 96-1. But even then, I was somewhat troubled by some unintended consequences that may occur. I think my co-sponsor from the 71st agrees with what we perceive could be some problems that were unanticipated. As this reads right now, any child victim under this provision of the bill or this article that we're talking about here today would be eligible for any type of restitution the court may allow, but adult victims would only be eligible for transportation expenses or medical expenses. I don't find that to be equitable in this situation. You could have a 17-year-old, for example, who's trafficked who would be eligible for restitution, but an 18-year-old would not be. And the restitution in this situation would be paid by the perpetrator. So frankly, when you're talking about these code provisions, this bill, what it's seeking to stop, I don't really care what the perpetrator has to pay. So I don't see any reason for limitation on what the perpetrator may be liable for. You have court discretion as to what is reasonable. A judge will be a reasonable backstop here. So I think that my suggestion to this body, I hope you'll agree with me, is that we simply strike out these exemptions and allow restitution as the court may see fit for anyone who is a victim of either trafficking or smuggling under this bill. I urge passage. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Debate still is on the amendment read by the clerk. Is there other debate on the amendment as read by the clerk? Lady from the 56th Delegate Young is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the chairman yield for a quick question?
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, I'm trying to get to the bill really quickly about the restitution part. Okay, so on the part in I like the amendment of striking that section. I agree with that. But under the restitution section, shall pay restitution to the victim of the offense. Victim is in the bill doesn't apply to victims of human smuggling, only victims of human trafficking. So is it going to apply to victims of human smuggling as well?
Can you show me where you're looking at the definition of victim so I can go back and look at it with you?
It is page 5, line 95.
Okay, give me just 1 second. Yeah, so the example I gave earlier, I actually talked about the age difference between a 17-year-old and 18-year-old who's a victim of trafficking. Under the current version of this bill, which again is the version that passed 96-1 last year, the trafficking victim, if they're 18, would not be eligible for restitution beyond medical expenses or transportation. So if this amendment's adopted, then the trafficking victims, there'd be no age limitation. So the definition of victim is not changing, I agree with you, but this does open it up to anyone who's a trafficking victim could receive restitution regardless of their immigration status.
But will people who are victims of smuggling be eligible for restitution is my question.
Well, this is part of, I apologize, 1 second.
I thought the restitution was about all of it, not just...
Yeah, I mean, it is because, again, let's go back. I'm going to scroll back down to the restitution paragraph real quickly, so if you'll stick with me. So if you read it in plain language, it says the court shall order a person convicted of an offense under this article to pay restitution to the victim of the offense. It does not say a victim of smuggling. It just says the court shall order the person convicted of an offense under this article. The entire article, which again, if you read the plain language of how we draft our statutes, the article is Article 14. So Article 14 includes both trafficking and smuggling. So if you're convicted under an offense of this article, which includes both trafficking and smuggling, then the court shall order restitution to the victim, regardless of which crime it is.
But the definition of victim does not include victims of smuggling, is what I'm saying. I think that might have been an oversight in also last year's bill.
Well, again, you have to read this in terms of how it's plainly written. The court shall order a person convicted of an offense under this article. The entire article is smuggling and trafficking both. There's no distinction between which provision the article applies to. It applies to the entire thing. So if you would have, let me tell you this, if you would have a judge who wants to agree with you that this is somehow confusing, I guess in the realm of anything is possible, I would find it very hard to believe that any judge would look at this the way it's plainly written, the way that judges are taught to read statutes, and say that under this article only applies to trafficking because they would then go back and limit it with the use of the definition of victim. It is clear here the article applies to both potential crimes, and it will blow my mind to see any judge say, I'm not going to order restitution to the smuggling victim because I think the victim definition maybe is a little confusing here. I mean, crazy things happen. That would be crazy.
I just wonder why smuggling isn't under the definition of victim. I agree that it's plain language, and it just isn't in that plain language. I think we agree on this. I just want to make sure that the language is clear.
I can answer that.
Okay.
So last year this came up, and the reason why victim did not include smuggling is because you can certainly have, like a child cannot consent to smuggling. I would agree you could have a child who you could classify as a victim in that. But you also have some adults who voluntarily engage in smuggling, and it's not because of sexual extortion.
Sure.
It's not because of debt bondage or anything like that. And they can be essentially involved in, for lack of a better word, a conspiracy to violate the immigration laws themselves. So we did not include smuggling in the definition of victim because sometimes you will have cooperation among the person who's being smuggled and the smuggler. So that's why that distinction was made. But when it came to restitution, we made sure that anyone who's either a victim of smuggling or trafficking is eligible for restitution, and that's what this amendment would accomplish.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there further debate on the amendment as read by the clerk? Does the sponsor wish to close debate on the amendment? If not, the question is, shall the amendment be adopted? Those in favor of adoption of the amendment will please say aye. Those opposed will please say no. The ayes have it. The chair declares that amendment adopted. Are there other amendments to the bill? If not, the bill will be advanced to third reading. Are other bills on second reading? If not, bills on first reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4028 relating to sales tax on construction materials.
Bill to be advanced.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4169 relating to mental health examination requirements.
Bill to be advanced.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4215 Department of Health Rules Bundle.
Bill to be advanced.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4364 relating to concurrent juvenile jurisdiction on military installations.
Bill to be advanced.
House Bill 4422 to permit students in 8th and 9th grade to attend summer school in order to raise their grades and establish academic eligibility to play sports in the fall.
Bill to be advanced. Other bills on first reading? If not, leaves of absence. Gentleman from the first.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. For our colleagues, delegates Cooper, Holstein, Linville, Moore, and Doug Smith.
Are there objections to leaves of absence being granted? No objections are heard, and those leaves of absence will be granted. Introductions. Introductions. Miscellaneous business. Gentleman from the first.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move, subject to announcements, the House adjourn until 1:30 p.m. Monday, January 26th.
Are there announcements? Gentleman from the 72nd, Doggett Riley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Finance will meet Tuesday, January 27th in the House Finance Committee room for committee meeting. The agenda will be posted. There will also be a budget hearing immediately following from the Department of Commerce and Workforce West Virginia. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman from the 41st, Delegate Maynor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Subcommittee on Homeland Security will meet immediately following the floor session today, and the Subcommittee on Legal Services will meet immediately following Homeland Security, both in the Judiciary Committee room. Committee on the Judiciary will not meet Monday, January 26th. However, Committee on Judiciary will meet on Tuesday, January 27th at 9 a.m. in the Judiciary Committee room. The agenda will be posted. Subcommittee on Courts will meet on Tuesday, January 27th at 9:45 a.m. in the Judiciary Committee room. The agenda will be posted. Subcommittee on Homeland Security will meet on Tuesday, January 27th at 10 a.m. in the Judiciary Committee room. The agenda will be posted. I apologize, Mr. Speaker. I need to make a correction. Subcommittee on Legal Services will meet on Tuesday, January 27th at 9:45 a.m. in the Judiciary Committee room. And the Subcommittee on Courts will meet at 10:15, January 27th, Tuesday, January 27th, 10:15 in the Judiciary Committee room. The agendas will be posted. And finally, Republican members of the committee will caucus in the chairman's office Tuesday, January 27th at 8:45 a.m. Thank you.
Gentleman from the 68th, Douglas Phillips.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Subcommittee on Local Government will meet today at 1 p.m. in the Government Organization Committee room. The agenda is posted, and Republicans will caucus at 12:45 in the Chairman's office. Your Subcommittee on Government Administration will meet Monday at 3 p.m. in the Government Organization Committee room. The agenda will be posted. Republicans will caucus at 1:45 in the Chairman's office. Your Standing Committee on Government Organization will meet Monday at 4 p.m. in the Government Organization Committee room. The agenda is posted, and Republicans will caucus at 12:45 in the Chairman's office.
Gentleman from 92nd, Douglas Height.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Health and Human Resources will meet Tuesday, January 27th at 3:30 p.m. in the Health and Human Resources Committee room. Republicans will caucus at 3. The agenda is posted.
Gentleman from 77, Douglas Statler.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Standing Committee on Education will meet Tuesday, January the 27th at 1:30 in the Education Committee room. The agenda will be posted. Republican members of the committee will caucus in the chairman's office prior to the meeting at 1 p.m.
Gentleman from the 2nd, Douglas Teslo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Energy and Public Works will meet Monday, January 26th at 4 p.m. in the House Judiciary Committee room. The agenda will be posted. Thank you.
Gentleman from the 88th, Douglas Hillenbrand.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Veterans Caucus will not be meeting Monday.
For the benefit of everyone who may not have paid close attention, the gentleman from the first moved that the House adjourn until 1:30 p.m. on Monday. It is our intention that no meetings be held on Monday morning. Please monitor your email communication over the weekend. In the event that weather conditions warrant a further delay of proceedings on Monday, we will notify all members of the House, as well as do our best to keep our website as up to date as we can keep it. So please monitor weather conditions appropriately and monitor your emails over the weekend. With that, are there further announcements? If not, the question is on the motion that the House stand adjourned until 1:30 p.m. on Monday. Those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. The House is adjourned until 1:30 p.m. Monday.